Yeah, hi internet, what's up? This is a quick video to introduce. I've just released Cardigan Bay 0.6.0, and I thought I would give this time a short, not overview of everything it does, but a quick tutorial on how to install and run it. So I'm here in Windows because a lot of people use that, and just to show you that because it's written in Java, because it's distributed as a sort of jar file, it's pretty quick to get using. You don't have to kind of do any installing, etc. So here I am on the GitHub releases page, and here is Cardigan Bay 0.6.0, the latest release. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to download this cardigan.zip file. I'll save that. It'll take a few seconds to come down, and when it does, you will see what is involved here. Right, okay, here we go. Let's go there. And we will just cut that for the moment, and we will put it onto the desktop. So close these down, sorry. Right, here's my desktop. Here is the cardigan.zip. Now I've got Java installed on this machine, but nothing else special. All I'm going to do now is extract everything to the desktop here, and what comes out of this zip file is this directory, and you'll see that it's basically got this jar file in. It's got a go.bat and a go.sh. These are the things that will execute the Java file. And Bedrock just contains a bunch of example pages, the kind of default pages to get you going in the wiki. You can pretty much delete everything in Bedrock and just do it yourself, but there are some useful examples of how to do things, so it's worth keeping it while you explore the wiki, and then if you want to create a new one from scratch, just change the thing. So we just run it by hitting this go.bat. Windows is going to ask you if to make sure, because it's running a little web server, there's a security issue, so just hit the more information and this button here which says run it anyway, because obviously Microsoft don't trust me. And you'll see a couple of things appearing here. It gives you the wiki name. The important thing, it tells you by default it's port number 4545. Gives you a bit of extra information about, by default, where it's looking for the data and stuff. None of that, you don't have to, you'll see in a second how to get to that through the wikis. So we'll go to our browser now, create a new tab, and we'll just go to that localhost 4545, which is the default thing. And there we are. We are now looking at Cardigan Bay running on the machine. So you didn't have to compile anything, you didn't have to know anything. It's written in Clojure, but you don't have to know anything about that, although you can learn something about that. So this is now the default interface. You've got a menu at the top here. Hello World is like your start page. There's a page called About This Wiki, which has some of that system information. So if you want to know where is it finding the pages are all in this directory here. They're all just standard markdown files, or markdown files with a little bit of extra for some of the other card types. Where does it export to? Well, it exports to there. It's got some things like the analysis. I mean, the recent changes you can also get from up here. It just shows you the most recent pages that were edited and the date they were edited. It's got a few other analysis. You can see a list of all the pages here. You can see broken links, for example. These are internal links, so you can see that card types page has a link to something called search page, but that actually doesn't exist. This is kind of like, wiki's always a little bit broken. Sandbox is a place you can just kind of experiment with your thing. So what you'll see when you're going to these pages, they're made of these, what I call cards, these sort of white round cornered things. There's always a backlinks card appended automatically to the end, so that's showing you what pages link to this sandbox page. Now what's new in this latest version is this nav bar here. So we can obviously follow the links between different pages, Cardigan Bay, but we could also type in the name of a page and navigate directly to it. So we can type in Hello World and hit go, and that will just take us back to the Hello World page. But we've got some other stuff we can do up here now. So we can also do a search. Suppose I was going to say, find me all the pages that contain the words, let's have an interesting word, wiki, right? So we type that, instead of clicking go, we hit search, and what appears is called the transcript. This is just the kind of output of stuff we do up here, and you'll see the results of a search for the word wiki. All these pages contain that term. So some of them, like all pages, is not very interesting, but the getting started has the word wiki in it, obviously. Another thing we can do is we can put in closure. So let's do a simple thing, 1 plus 2 plus 3, execute that. That will do this calculation, put the result in the transcript as well. Now, because this is closure, we could do something a lot more sophisticated. We could apply the addition function to the range 10, 0 to 10, for example, or 0 to 9, to execute that. Okay, up to 45. Let's do it to the numbers 100, 49 and 50. So we've got a full closure interpreter running inside this, and we can type little closure expressions at the top there. So now this combination of the nav bar and this transcript output are becoming quite a more sophisticated tool than they were previously. It's becoming more like a sort of command line, and the idea here is that we will start adding further functionality through this, further scripting capabilities through this. So let's have a look at a bit more about Cardigan Bay. Let's look at the user guide. Now there's a lot here, but we've got some examples. If you are interested in coding, there's even a page called Hacker Onboarding that more or less tells you where which files certain kinds of activities are. So if you're interested in getting into the code, it's all in closure script, GitHub, GitLab repositories there. But it will kind of say if you just want to mess with the CSS, it's in resources CLG TS main CSS. If you want to see where the actual UI stuff is done, it's all defined here in this client.cljs. If you want to see where create a new type of card, okay, then you'll see the card server has the place where you'll see kind of tests for what type of card we're working with. Just go back to look at types of cards, embedding examples. So by default, cards are just markdown. So you just type ordinary markdown and then that gets rendered into HTML. But we also have a few other types. We have an embedded card type, and let's have a look at some video embedding, just some random examples. So here's an embedded YouTube video, here's an embedded Vimeo video. What do they look like in the source code? Well, they're just this embed card type. All card types are like this colon type name after the card separator is these 4 horizontal lines here. So this is an embed type. The type is YouTube. The URL is this, and there's a title and a caption. Similar for Vimeo, same thing. Type is Vimeo, URL is that, title is that. And you'll notice in the caption we can actually put markdown, and we can put links in the caption. So down here we could just click in there and go back to the embedding examples page. Similarly, we've got music embedding, Soundcamp and Bandcamp. So SoundCloud, Bandcamp. I'm a musician, so I'm putting my music here. But, you know, these are things that are useful for me, so they're there in Cardigan Bay. Social embedding right now, we've got two things. We've got tweets, can be embedded, and we've got RSS feed. So I've grabbed an RSS feed from Dave Weiner, who's the great sort of champion of RSS, and we can embed that list of RSS items. Not very visually exciting yet, but we've got it there. So you can kind of like start turning this into a dashboard type information tool. Final thing we've got CodePen. This has been experimental, but I saw CodePen. We use OEmbed behind the scenes. So really any site that supports OEmbed, we can embed from. So I discovered CodePen does it, so you can run. The only thing that is an issue here is I haven't found out how to change the height currently. This whole thing is just coming from CodePen as part of an OEmbed, and I'd like to make it bigger, but I didn't see how to tell it to do that. But you know, we're running CodePen examples in our page. So that's the kind of embedding we've got at the moment. You can see these forward and back buttons up here. Soon, but not yet, I will hook those up to the browser's own forward and back. But it's quite useful to have separate ones. This will all run on a mobile device, so it's quite useful when you're on a phone or tablet to have these buttons directly. Okay, eval examples. So you've seen closure running up here, but we can also run closure, well, in two ways. We've got workspaces. So a workspace lets us actually embed a small interactive closure workspace. So here we actually write some code which is kind of going to be rendered by embedding it in the hiccup, the kind of to attach it to the document in the kind of native way. So you can see here's a div with a numbered list, and then we've got a little function here that's just mapping this, wrapping a list item around every number in the range to 20. So we can click the run button and you'll see it's given us a numbered list for those results. If I decided to make that an unnumbered list and run it again, then you'll see we just get standard bullet points. I could do something like sorry, I have to go back into the right keyboard, a bold tag around that, run that again, and you can see we've made these bold now. So this is an interactive workspace. Be aware it does not save the changes you're making yet, but if you want to, all the pages, we can copy that, we can just go to the edit page and we could paste in our change here. So we still always use the main single large edit box to edit everything in a page at the moment. There will, if sooner or later, we will move towards having individual card oriented editing. So you just edit one card individually. But it's quite useful to also have the ability to edit. If you're dealing with a large page with a lot of paragraphs, it's much quicker just like cut bits out of one and paste them into another, or split one card into two, or pull them back together again, if you can just edit them all at once in a big text box. So that's been the kind of initial default. Right, so that's embedding closure workspaces. We can also embed closure that actually just runs on the server. So here are a couple of examples. Our card type called eval raw and eval md. They just evaluate on the server, and If it's raw, it just doesn't render. If it's MD, it's marked down, so it kind of runs it through the markdown processor after it's rendered, after it's been evaluated. If it's raw, you just see the raw thing. So here are some cards that were evaluated on the server there, including the output can contain links, go into this sort of tabular format, etc. But be aware that there isn't really any security currently, so we're just doing an eval on the server. So if people can put something dangerous, it will be dangerous. Finally, let's do something here. A search example. Right. Here is a page which contains a system card with a command search and a query wiki. So this is a query for the term wiki again. And you'll see that that page, when it's rendered, it contains this search inside it. Let's change that for a second to something else. Let's change it to the word eval. Let's see which pages contain the word eval. And you'll see currently the eval examples, the workspace examples, card types, and this page itself. So yeah, so we can either do searches up here and have the result appear on the transcript, or we can embed searches in cards. So I think that's kind of the state of where we are with Cardigan Bay. Oh, the other thing is the export all pages. That just whirls through and exports everything. So if we were to go back here now, inside Bedrock and inside the exported, you will see, just check it's finished, yeah. Inside the exported directory here, we have, let's open that. This is currently, now this is the CSS here is completely customizable. You can do what you like with the CSS. So this is the default output, and you'll see most of these things have, pretty much everything has been rendered. So most things get rendered normally. The search example, you'll see that, for example, that search card now contains, this is just a flat HTML rendering of the contents of your wiki. But things like the search have obviously just been rendered at the time you did the export. So that calculation was done. Similarly, in the eval examples, those were calculated at export time, and they've just become flat HTML cards. Unfortunately, or what I've still got is not yet ready, the workspace example doesn't give you an interactive workspace in this thing. It just gives you a slightly meaningless renderization. So because these are literally flat HTML, they have no running code in them at all, these pages. At some point, I'm thinking how I will create an exported version that can still contain some interactive widgets. That's kind of in the to-do queue, but there's other things to do before that. So yeah, so that's pretty much an overview of where we are with Cardigan Bay. Oh, let's just double check the embedding examples. The embedding examples, obviously, that works fine. The code pen is embedded there. The video embedding works in the flat export. The social embedding, again, this embedding was fixed at the point we exported. So something like this RSS feed will have been rendered at the point. So in the static thing, this is not going to update itself anymore, obviously, but it was determined at the time it exported. Again, that's something that maybe in future it would be nice to have more dynamic. So yeah, so that's current state of play in Cardigan Bay 0.6.0, and as you can see, it's literally download this zip file and just run the batch file here. So yeah, so that's where we are, and yeah, please try it out if you're interested in having a kind of smart Wiki-like notebook. Runs on your machine, stores all the pages in standard Markdown or Markdown with some extra tricks, and is possibly the only current wiki engine that you can get a personal notebook that you can also embed closure in and closure calculations. I mean, that the kind of goal is to move towards the sort of things people do in Jupyter or one of these sort of smart notebooks. I mean, I'm kind of interested in running simulations and things like that. So the direction going forward is to have more dynamic stuff embeddable within this kind of wiki notebook context. And the other thing that's an important goal here is that this interface is intended, the whole card metaphor, it's kind of intended to work on tablets, phones. I mean, this obviously on a phone screen is much smaller, but the way I describe it, I'm militantly one-dimensional. In other words, there's not kind of multiple things on the side. Everything just kind of goes in a single vertical scrolling page with a sequence of cards or cells one after another, because that kind of works okay on phones and tablets. I mean, I did some experiments before with a kind of more outliner type thing, which is great on a big screen and keyboard, but I didn't find so useful for narrower portable screens. So the focus here is that. So yeah, thanks for watching. That's current state Cardigan Bay 0.6.0. I hope it will enthuse and inspire some people to come and play.